My financial plan is that I built for you is useless if it's not your plan. Like if we got to really drill down, so especially that first couple meetings, we're getting to know each other. I'm asking all sorts of questions and budget and all the stuff because that plan is going to include your professional success, family goals, personal values, your relationship with money. We got to really drive down and see what makes you tick. Like, what is your why?
Hello and welcome to Un Eff Your Finances podcast with your host, Nick St. George. I'm your podcast producer, RJ Malik. Nick, I was just thinking maybe we should just start recording as soon as you just connect with Riverside here because the banter we have between you and I think that could be a show in itself. What do you think?
Yeah, no, we might have to, the RJ and Nick show. You can go first on that one. I know I don't have my Sunday's best on for these episodes. I know you're disappointed the aviators are put up, but we're going to have a little fun today as well.
I do like the shirt though, and that's an ice pop on your shirt, right? The red, white, and blue.
Yes, we're recording today. I had to go red, white, and blue. Rocket. Hey, hopefully the market goes up, but hopefully Team USA does not let me down tonight.
Nice. You're a big hockey fan. Big hockey fan.
I went to a high school that did not have a football team. We had a rink on campus.
That's it.
Everyone's like, you missed your call on playing football. I'm like, but I'm a gazelle on the ice. Like, good luck moving me out of the way to the front of the net.
That's true. Were you so you were center, wing, or
center? I needed to skate basically from slot to slot. I'm not much of one to go all the way down to the corners. I'm too lazy.
You didn't do the dirty work. Okay, I got it. I know plenty of players like you. You're a pretty boy. I get it.
I'm pretty until you piss me off. You're not going to like me when I'm angry.
All right, let's get to today's topic. We're going to talk about game changers and wealth builders. Explain what's going on with that.
I've been doing a lot of work and just review of my practice and my clients, and a lot of the best ones. I'm like, I don't want to pigeonhole, they just work at this business and this type of thing. It's like game changer wealth builders. They're high achieving. They're business owners, executives, industry leaders. They're not quite, I don't know, anywhere, call it 30 to 55, because I say 55 because you don't want to we can't start working on retirement when you get a gold watch. So we need a little bit, at least runway, but you've built that successful career or your business has been built up and growing, and you just want to make sure your money's working as hard as you do. Like, these are strategic achievers, like smart, driven, financially successful, but you don't really have enough time or even maybe not the desire just to manage every detail. Like, you're working 40, 50 hours. You have activities with your kids, a partner, whatever it might be. And next thing you know, it's 8:30 at night and you're going to try to figure out your allocation or, hey, what's a tax efficient way? Like, at the end of the day, there's only so many hours in a day. So they just run out of time, bandwidth. I'm telling you, these are bright people. It's not their expertise.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I was going to say, when I was starting out in my career, you get so career oriented. You're building your career. You're not thinking about the end of your career. You're thinking about building it and growing and where's my next step to get a better salary, get a better position, all that stuff. So that's a huge issue. If I could point out one of the issues I think I have with the way we build our retirement is we don't emphasize enough to younger people how important it is to start early. Because I started building my retirement probably when I was about 40.
And that's one of those things, you see that snowball effect. Oh, hey, if you could have just done, $300 a month. There's some papers that show the calculation. Hey, and basically 2 decades. If you save $250 a month between 20 and 30, $500 a month between 30 and 40, $1,000 between 40 and 50, basically which one ends up being more? And it's that early one. That's that snowball effect. That's compounding. Think about the interest on your mortgage. Like, that one compounds. Like, you look at, how much interest you pay over 30 years. Investing is going the other way. It's going towards you. So the earlier you can start, yes. If there's one thing I can tell my younger self, don't Like, don't sign up for that credit card in college because it gave you a free like Patriots towel, and actually can try to put more in your 401k early on. Like, it's one of those things that you're 20 something, you might have some student loan debt, you're just trying to figure out, you get those entry level jobs. Like, how much money do you really have to save? And we're in a world of instant gratification. You get that first bonus. And I did a trip with some buddies to Aruba. Like, should I have been putting some money in my 401k? Absolutely.
You get a better car.
Yes.
You're look at it and like, okay, I got this bonus. I'm tired of this beat up car that breaks down. I'm going to get a nice car.
I was so excited about getting that first car, because that was not a beater car, if you will.
Right.
I think I had a 1996 Crown Vic in
Okay.
college. That was beautiful, because our 1992 Buick Regal got absolutely rear-ended and smashed. Like, we literally had the trunk put into the back seat with my brother and I.
Mm.
And but yeah, I was fired up. It was like, so it's 2005, maybe spring 2006. And I got myself a 2004 Chevy Trailblazer. I thought I was like the coolest thing ever.
Right.
Like, but once again, I should have driven that 96 Crown Vic into the ground. Like, that was the smart choice, not having a car payment.
But how much influence was the outside to your world telling you about, you got to prepare for your retirement?
Oh, it's not. This goes back to even, like, I think, hey, we can do circumference of a circle, but we don't understand taxes, interest. Like, I think this should be a core form of math class. Maybe not have finance. Core finance should be taught at a high school level. Like, I have a finance degree, and they didn't really even get into that stuff until maybe my senior year.
Right.
I think we're lacking in just at our education system. I know there are some schools that have started getting some basic business econ, but like, joking, adulting 101. Like, what is a mortgage, balance checkbook? And it's not like the old school way where you have to literally get your ledger. Like, you look at your mobile app. Like, I just did it for the house. I did it for the business. You can use your ChatGPT, stuff like that, in your annual statements and be like, where did my money go? And once again, though, but that goes into the time constraints. Do you have time as a successful business owner or exec or whatever it might be? You're stacking money. You can't just go Google it. Like, it was in the early parts. All right, hey, we got a 10, 20, 50 grand. All right, I can mess around. I'll do this target date fund. That sounds good enough to me. But like, a Google search doesn't know you. Recently, I had a prospective client reach out. He's like in a panic that he had 60 days to do something. His mom passed away. She had a retirement account, and he was panicked that he had 60 days to do something with the money. But that's a Google search. He was reading that, hey, if you take an IRA distribution or a rollover, you have 60 days to get into an IRA. Like, you have that little bit of window. On death, grieve your loved one. Like, you're not forced to do that. But that's the problem of Google. You get this high level, or maybe you didn't type it in right, or you interpreted it a little bit wrong. But you start stacking commas and zeros on those statements. You can't just wing it anymore. Like, you want to make sure it's on track. Like, you don't wing it with your business. You didn't get this successful by just like hope and a prayer. Like, yeah, everyone's success has got a little luck involved, but when it comes to your money, you can't just sit there and pray. So most people have some type of goal setting. Think about it. You want to be tax efficient with it. As you start making more money, you start seeing those quarterly taxes or what actually like you end up keeping. So you want to be tax efficient with that planning and just be disciplined. Like, so many people do emotional things with money. It's alarming.
But it's easy to do. But you're right. Going back, a strategy. You need a strategy.
I say financial plan. Think of that as the recipe to your financial success. And each recipe is different.
Right. And that was never something that I was exposed to when I was in high school and college. They never talked about that kind of stuff.
No, it really isn't. And the other thing is, like, when you're in the midst of working and you're successful and you don't think it's ever going to come to an end. No different than a pro athlete. Oh, I don't need to save. Like, you see that the 30 for 30 that ESPN did, talking about how many athletes are dead broke.
Oh, I know.
They never think, oh, that another check's going to come, another signing bonus. And it's like, same thing with executives. You start moving and clipping and, oh, well, you get a layoff, you get an early retirement package. But like, retirement age is a number, but truly, like, most of my clients want that I call it work optional mindset.
Right.
What that means is it's financial independence. So it's not a set year that you need to retire. A lot of times you've been moving up and up and up the corporate ladder. Like, for instance, I don't want to work like I did at 35 or what I'm doing now when I'm 65, but I also don't think I'm going to just hard stop and be like, hey, I'm not going to do anything.
Nick, I have four friends from college, all retired within the last 2 years. 3 of the 4 have gone back to some kind of work. And the one who hasn't, his wife complained to my wife that he's around the house way too much. She wants him to get a job so it gets him out of the house.
So think about retirement is an age. Everyone talks about, hey, what's your retirement age? Most what I find what truly is to know in the back of your mind that if this job sucks, you can get out, that you have the ability to control your time, your money, you have enough saved. So think about it, you've moved up. Now you're an SVP. Now the business almost kind of runs itself. You don't have to be in the muck, the mud of the day to day.
Sure.
And now you're going to the conferences. Oh, you're going to Miami, you're going to Vegas, San Diego. Like you're going to fun places, shaking hands, kissing babies. And it's a mix. It's both like personally fulfilling and still financially rewarding. It's a nice thing. But if it changes, if you get a new boss or they say you have to, I don't know, hot topic these days are going back into the office. If you don't want to work in the office 5 days a week, but you know in the back of your head, you can tell them that they're number one and just walk out. That's the nice goal. Because everyone talks about this retirement early. You're going to retire at 52. What are you going to do for 40 years?
Yeah, right.
I understand you don't want to work like you do now. I completely understand that. But that optional lifestyle, like, will you consult some? I get getting off the grind 40, 50 hours. But if you can still keep your mind sharp and do some things and still get compensated, why not keep going? But knowing that if it changes or you get sick of it, you can get out because you control it. Like once you hit that, hey, I have enough saved and everything now is just like a victory lap, life is pretty good.
But that's where you come in as a financial advisor. You can come up with a plan to get a person to head in that direction. So I guess then is what should a person look for and want from their financial advisor?
You got to have that clear, structured plan. Like, all right, my financial plan is that I built for you is useless if it's not your plan. Like if we got to really drill down. So when, especially that first couple meetings, we're getting to know each other. I'm asking all sorts of questions and budget and all this stuff because that plan is going to include your professional success, family goals, personal values, your relationship with money. We got to really drive down and see what makes you tick. Like, what is your why, right? You say, what is it? Who, why, not how, or whatever the Simon, like find out what your why is. Like my kids are my why. Like that's, what do you do? Oh, I want to grow this up so eventually they might want to get into the business or it's big enough they can sell and just consult or something like that and be a grandfather, right? There's my why. What's yours? Oh, I want to retire. Oh, I want to make money. I'm like, those are outcomes. That's not a plan. We got to build that blueprint, that yellow brick road, whatever you want to call it, that recipe to get you there. And it's kind of hard. Like it's almost like smoking a brisket. Brisket take 18 hours and it feels like it's forever and you mess it up. Like you don't realize at hour 7, like the smoker got too hot. And sometimes how that feels with retirement. All right. And deferring money. I can't touch this and it's supposed to make me happy later, but I really want this shiny object now. And my CPA says if I buy a new car every year, I can like lower my income on the business. And it's like, there's so many other ways to, you don't need to buy a car every year just to lower your taxable income. Like a car is going to eventually depreciate to zero. Like there's other ways of doing this. And if you don't have that plan and some tax efficiency, because I'm not saying we're going to open up accounts in the Caymans. Like we're not avoiding taxes, but the tax code's super complex. There's lots of rules, but we're going to play by the rules and take advantage where we can. Like that's why I use that Holistic plan. It X-rays your tax return because your CPA is doing the postmortem. What happened? They're looking out the rearview mirror, looking out. Holistic plan, what we do with your financial plan, looking at your taxes, what's happening this year? Where can we be the most efficient? Because this film in February be visible in March. Like there's not many things you can do to fix your 24 tax return. Either you get that DeLorean that goes 88 miles per hour, or you should have been doing tax plan. Right now, tax plan for 25 starts now. Like we can still make changes, tax loss harvesting, but there's a lot of stuff that you need to be looking at now when you can still make adjustments.
You're like a coach putting together a game plan for life.
Yes. Like financial game plan, there's any analogy that's going to click with you. And like, sometimes I got to find a way to connect. Like what is a term or a phrase that resonates with you? You can say it 1,000 different ways, but if it doesn't, if I just sound like the teacher from the Peanuts, like what is that going to do for you?
Yes. Wah, wah, wah.
Exactly. Like I swear that's what my kids hear when I say like, do your homework, use soap when you take a shower, maybe put on deodorant.
Every parent feels that way. I think that's,
Yeah, you can tell the boys are starting, like Bo's baseball team. They're working out indoors, and most of these kids are starting to hit puberty, and you smell that. It's like that cloud. I'm like, holy shit! I thought we needed an Adderall sponsorship. We need like Right Guard for you. This is bad.
Yeah, yeah.
But nothing to look for. Just look. Decades ago, you had brokers. They got paid by charging a commission to pitch you an idea. Think like Wolf of Wall Street, right? Hey, I got a great idea. It's a cancer pill. It's going to be great. It's life altering. Pick up 1,000 shares. And there was a transaction. They got paid on that to sell you an idea. And that idea, win or lose, didn't matter to that advisor. Like they were a broker of a transaction. Like trading back then, there wasn't online trading. You go trade for $0 at a lot of places. Like the commission, like the idea is gone. This is a relationship. We got to have a plan and discipline strategy and look at the risk management. It's like you still get people, oh, what do you think about this stock? Not sure. I don't track individual stocks. Yes, I look at the market, but it's long term. Like one day, today, Walmart's having a bad day. Does that mean Walmart's closing shop? No, it's like you do these quarterly reports and earnings reports. Is Walmart closing its stores? No. Like they just said, hey, maybe growth isn't what it used to be. Or, hey, we've been growing so much. This goes back to when I used to trade on my own. I would buy some options and like I was betting on earnings going into it. And I was right on my bet. I'm not going to say the stock, but it's probably in your wallet. You got a card from them. And I was right. Earnings are amazing. Best earnings ever. But there was one sentence in it that literally goes, hey, we don't think we can have this type. It was like 30% growth. We don't think we can grow at 30% each quarter, which is true. And the stock went down. So like I could have written that stock earnings report and I don't even think I would have been that like happy. But that one little line message. And I'm like, that's why you can't chase the day-to-day noise. Like you got to have a long-term strategic like allocation. Now I have partners that do the great data. We had Eric on some earlier ones, so I'm getting that trade data and we're looking at it. And if we need to make an adjustment, we will, but I'm not going to make it on one headline or one or two bad days. Like sometimes the market will just snap back. All right, it sucked. There's a chart that shows that like the 20 best days in the market each year versus the 20 worst days in the market. And they're typically pretty close to each other in days. Like Monday might be the worst day ever. And then Wednesday's the best day for the year. And it's just like, womp womp. Like
before this last election, I saw some graphs and how the market performs under a Democratic president and Congress and a Republican president and Congress. And there's not a lot of difference. We have more positives than negatives in this country. If you take a step back and look at the big picture, obviously there have been some over the last 100 years. There have been some years where it's been a disaster, like most recent would be 2008 and that situation. But overall, it goes up and down, but it's continues to go up. Even though it's going up and down, it still ends up on the upside.
And I don't know, roughly over the last 100 years, it's basically, I think it's 74 up years to 26 down. So for argument's sake, 3 out of 4. But then you get people like, oh, we've had 2-3 years in a row. We have to have a bad year. I'm like, that's like saying how we had 5 days without rain. We got to have rain on the 6th day. Like, no, that's how averages work. We might have a week that we have 7 straight days of rain, and then you'll have 2 weeks of no rain, but you average it out.
Is the biggest challenge as a financial advisor keeping your client's perspective in line?
Oh yeah, especially right now. The headlines of the election, the residual from the election. I've had people, as much as I like to joke and have some fun with things, people are truly alarmed right now. They have some deep hearted. As much as I want to make some jokes with it, you got to take that step back, take that deep breath. But that's one of the many things that like I help with.
Right.
Like it's kind of hard to quantify. Hey, I kept you in the market. I kept you invested. I kept you on track. Like I don't want to go call you back and be like, hey, I can see if we would have jumped out like you panicked, or even like 2 years ago, you had people like, oh, we had the recession that never was. Everyone was clamoring. I'm like, look at the numbers.
Right.
If we would have believed the headlines, like that's the difference. Like they're selling commercials, TV ads, but so to have that soothing voice, and let's be honest, sometimes I'm the bull in a china shop, but you got to look at the track. Hey, let's take a step back. That's why we had the financial plan. That's why I try to look at, hey, where have we been? Like we've been through some crazy ass headlines, and look at it. Like there's always going to be that disaster du jour, but you don't. But that's where this comes in. Of I know you. I know we have your plan. I know what your goals are. I know what scares you, but I also know that you're human, and we got to talk through this. You can't get us like a reassuring conversation about how you're on track with goals by doing an internet search. I don't care how good your chatbot is. They're not going to be able to talk to you and remember that. Hey, remember when your aunt died 3 years ago? We talked about this, this, and this. Look how far we've come with that money and how it's worked for you. And oh yeah, I forgot about that. And that's why I'm not worried. People are like, oh, AI is going to take your job over. I'm like, no, people are emotional and they do stupid things until still one of the drug companies makes that drug, a little common sense and calming combo. Like I have a lot of work ahead of me with people. So there's taking care of that time, taking care of their stress. And then the other thing is you work all this stuff, you bust your ass, you build this legacy. How do you transfer that on? Like, what do you want to leave? Like some people say, hey, I'm going to bounce my last check and like, good luck on my funeral. Other people are like, hey, I want to build a library or I want to donate. And how do you do that and be tax efficient about it? Like, I really think you should, if you're charitably inclined, do it while you're living. So you can see that, hey, I helped these people. You don't want to just be like a logo on a golf flyer saying, hey, this is the Memorial Golf Tournament. We're raising money and like see it. Hey, hear that you helped a kid go to college and they got your scholarship, or your church was able to do this, whatever. But the fun part is you can be charitable and tax efficient. Like you can do good and save a couple dollars on Club Fed. Like it's nice. It's nice to be able to do both.
My wife and I are just starting this conversation that you're referring to as far as what happens after we're gone. Where do we want our money to go? We don't have kids, so that's something that we have to deal with. But we've got nieces and nephews, and they're great, and we want to help them. But my wife is also, she's very much wants to. She has her charities she contributes to, and she wants to leave money for that. So we're in that planning stage of, okay, how are we going to do this? What kind of percentage are we going to leave for the nieces and nephews, and that kind of thing. So it's not an easy conversation. It's not.
Nobody wants to talk about dying.
No, it's not a fun conversation, but it's something you must do. Otherwise, it's a nightmare. And I just thought about this. My wife's friend from home, she just passed away. She got cancer, and she declined. She refused to have a will.
Oh, sorry to hear about the loss, but that's. You see those celebrities, what was it? Prince and some other people, like,
yes.
And they're like, oh, I don't need one. It's just going to figure it out. Like, all right, if you're married, you can kind of wing it, but it's when the last one dies, or if there's a wipeout event, that's where it starts getting squirrely. And like,
right.
All right, if you have, I don't know, 8 figures in assets, all right, there's probably some need, but I'm like, most people under that, you can almost, like, a lot of these wills right now are an ad lib document. Like there isn't crazy Like, all right, what do you want to have happen if you die? What do you happen if you're medically incapacitated? Who's your power of attorney? Who's going to take care of your kids? There's a handful of things, because part of what I do to help people out is making sure your accounts are titled properly. So think about, on IRAs, it's called beneficiaries. On your taxable accounts, it's transfer on death. On your bank accounts, it's usually payable on death. All those things supersede your will. So your will could say, hey, and I tell the story, when I started out at that big bull company, there was an advisor in there that had a client pass away. New wife comes in to claim the account. The will says, I leave everything to my new wife. They never updated the beneficiaries on the account. The ex-wife was the beneficiary of the IRA. That IRA beneficiary trumps what's in your will. They don't have to go to probate for that. That's like death certificate, driver's license. It's yours. And that's why you got to make sure things are titled properly, because it's a lot easier than having to go through probate and all this other stuff and certified copies of death certificates. Like, it's suddenly a legal document scavenger hunt, or, hey, you submit it in and it takes them so long to process it. Oh, we need new documents. That signature guarantee was only good for 60 days. It took us 72. Sorry, we need a new one filled out.
Right.
So one of the questions in the annual review, has anything changed? These are your beneficiaries. And people are like, yes, it's still them. But every now and then you hit and like, oh no, I don't talk to that brother anymore. Like, they're out. Like, let me update that. And it's a really easy thing. Like, it's one-page document, DocuSign. Like, we can do this faster than you order your coffee on your mobile app. Like, that's how quick you can get this stuff updated. But if you don't do that on the front end, I'm telling you, I've seen it enough, because I've dealt with enough clients or come into people that, hey, I need help with this. Most people think, oh, it's easy. I'm their son or daughter. It's just going to go to me. And it's like, well, it'll get to you more than likely eventually. But if they would have signed this and just titled it properly, that's part of like that wealth transfer. What happens when you die? I've said it 100 times. You don't want to do a fire drill in a fire. You don't want to figure this out on the deathbed. And you're like, oh, hey, can we move your hand to scribble on here? Like, it gets dicey, but like, that's part of like how I help these people is you have that personalized strategy. Who do you want to leave it to? You do the investments. Hey, like, we're not speculating. We're not gambling. Look, you want a 10-leg college football parlay? Yes, that's a different conversation. We don't do that with your money. We're long-term plan focused. We're not gambling with your life savings, but we got to be smart with it on taxes. But on that back end, like, what is that legacy? Do we need some life insurance? Do we need long-term care? But that's why this is a relationship and not just, hey, one-time transaction. Like, life happens. So we do that initial plan. We're going to check in. How did we do? Did we save as much? Did the market cooperate with us? Did your goals change? Did you get sick? Did you get divorced? Like, there's so many different things. Like, a financial plan on paper, like, it's useless if you're not able to adjust as your life adjusts. We all know, hey, I think I'd be living and working outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. I can promise you that was not on my who I want to grow up to be bingo card. Like, this is like, who would have thought? Like, it's one of those things. Like, life happens, right? Like, hey, my parents get sick. Do I have to move home? Stuff like that. Like, who knows? And you have to adjust. Had a meeting last month with some clients. Hey, their oldest is going away to college. Where should we take the money? Should we do it from the 529? Should we do it from the cash bonus? Oh, wait, she got scholarship money. What do we do? Like, hey, there was a rough plan. We've been saving for college for years, but now it's here. Hey, we have options. What's the most tax efficient way for them? They're high earners. They're really good. And the other funny part is they gave me, and this is where it's tricky. You're a high achiever, busy baller, whatever you want to call yourself. You're successful. Nobody likes being told what to do. I hate being told what to do. Like, hey, I run my practice. I feel somewhat successful depending on the moment. Homeschooling my kids on these remote learning days, I'm not very successful, but like, he explained, a great compliment I thought was, he's like, you present things so I can understand them and explain why A, B, and C and why A is the best option. And you let me decide on my own with an informed decision versus you don't just club me over the seal. Because if you club me over the head and say, you have to do this, I'm going to be like, screw you. I don't want to have to listen to you like that. And it's somewhat tricky for someone that runs, I don't know, a whole division. They run the Southeast. They run national level sales manager, whatever it might be. And you're being told by somebody on what to do. And it's like, it's somewhat tricky, but you got to understand that. And you got to be willing to have that coaching, to have the banter. And sometimes another situation recently, a client was like, hey, I was thinking about my social security and this, that. And I'm like, yeah, your break even's about 82 years. He's like, well, I didn't give you the numbers. I'm like, I've run 1,000 of these. I can tell you roughly what the break even is. But if you think health wise, 82 is on the stretch. He's like, well, I really like my bourbon and a cigar. I think 82 is a stretch. I'm like, as long as you know, like if we can make an informed decision, that's helpful. Let's talk about the numbers are one thing. What's going to keep you to sleep at night? What gives you that peace of mind and to make an educated decision? Like this is somewhat financial coaching. It's not just financial planning. You can still tell me, and I've had other clients, it's a 51-49 relationship. 51 is you, it's your money. Like I can bang on the wall and pray and whatever it might be. I'm still 49. So you can happily tell me to go eat shit and do what you want. And I have a client currently doing that. I'm like, I hope it works out. Like, I hope this project works. I don't want.
Right.
And but they're okay with the risk. They've heard it. They don't want to.
It's still a helpless feeling though.
Oh yeah. It's like how many different charts, ways I can say like, hey, this probably is.
Well, Nick, we've been, you've just given us a lot of information, and it sounds like this is something that you could talk about for a long time. But we're running out of time. So
Let's go long. Come on.
So what I'd like is for you to give out your contact information.
Hey, if this helped you uneff your finances, or you have that little pit in your stomach, you're like, holy shit, he's talking about me. Reach out. Like go to stgeorgewealth.com. You got all the booking calendar, schedule a call, shoot me an email. It's on there. It's in the show notes. Uneff your finances. Give yourself a little more peace of mind. Hire that teammate. Do you change your own oil? Are you going to go up on your own roof and patch the roof? No, you need to hire partners that you trust. And if it's not me, so be it, but get somebody in your corner because you know deep down you're making too much money. You have too much stuff going on. Get it taken care of. Hire that partner. Of course, I'd love it to be me, but yeah, reach out, stgeorgewealth.com.
All right, sounds good. Looking forward to your next podcast, and thank you for listening to today's Un Eff Your Finances podcast. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with friends and family. Until the next Un Eff Your Finances podcast, I'm RJ Malik.
Thank you for listening to the Un Eff Your Finances podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.stgeorgewealth.com or give us a call at 828-481-8836. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of St. George Wealth Management. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA and SIPC.
Any guests in their company or companies are not affiliated or endorsed by LPL Financial unless otherwise stated. Individual tax and legal matters should be discussed with your tax or legal professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal.